this video, we're going to go ahead and set up a destination. Now, a destination is exactly as the term indicates. This is the cloud service or other backup destination that you would like to send your files to. Now, as you can see, there are quite a few. We have Dropbox, Google Drive, Box.com, OneDrive, iDrive. We also have Amazon S3. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we also have the ability to set up an FTP account for a destination. We're going to go ahead and connect to Google Drive. So what we're going to do is just click the configure button. You should be taken to a screen similar to this one. So we'll go ahead and click allow. Now if everything goes well, you'll be taken right back to the screen, and you'll notice now the little X is now a check and the word configure changes to unset. The reason that's there is if you decide you don't want to use Google Drive, you can unset it and it goes back to a configure state. Now you'll also notice we have another little box that appeared. This is called number of backups per site. Now what this means is if you're going to back up your website, say once a week, at the end of the year, if you're not controlling this, you'll have 52 backups in your Google Drive for the same exact site. Now that's not very practical, especially if you have a large website where all zipped up, it's 100 megabytes. That's a lot of space you're taking up and wasting. So you can choose between 1 and up to 5 different copies of this backup. So for example, I would typically use 2 or 3. The most current will always overwrite the oldest one. So say you pick 2 and you're doing, say, daily backups or weekly backups. Week 1, you'll have 1 backup. Week 2, you'll have another backup. So you'll have 2 separate backups. Week 3, your newest backup will overwrite your oldest backup. And then week 4, so on and so forth. It'll just keep rotating. So you'll always have your 2 newest backups saved to your Google Drive or whatever other destination you've chosen. Now, setting up the rest of your destinations is pretty similar to what you just did with Google Drive, with the exception of Amazon S3. Amazon S3 requires you to have access key and a secret key. Okay, so we'll start right at the top with Dropbox. We'll click configure. And it's going to take you to, now if you're already logged in to your Dropbox, it'll take you to this, basically a permission screen. If you're not logged in, you'll come up with a login window first. You'll log in with your Dropbox details, and then you'll come to the screen, and then you'll click the allow button. And then you'll come back here and you'll see that it's got a check, and of course you set your number of backups. And we do the same with Box.com. Now see, just like I was describing, you'll log in first, and then it's going to ask you to grant access. Then you'll come back here, and again you set your number of backups. OneDrive, which is basically Microsoft. This one's probably the easiest of the bunch. You click configure, and like magic, you're already set. Set your number of backups. Now iDrive is also just slightly different, but not by much. Essentially, you're putting in your login details here instead of in a separate screen. So put in your iDrive username, which is probably your email address, and then your iDrive password. Now private key is an option. You can leave this blank. All this private key is something that iDrive set up where you can have an additional level of security by having a private key. You can read a little bit about that on the iDrive website. Okay, so otherwise put in your username and your password, and then you click configure. And again, you've got your check mark and you've got your number of backups per site. Okay, now we're going to scroll down to the FTP. This sets up a lot like the FTP setup we did in the source setup. FTP account, just like we described in our other setup video, is just, you can use any name. I tend to use the domain.com without the HTTP. So, okay, and then the host name is the domain plus the HTTP in front of it. FTP user, then your FTP password, and then your FTP port defaults to 21, so you can leave it blank. If your web host uses a number other than 21, you'll need to find out from them what it is, and you put it in here. Now the path, you'll see there's just a / here. You don't type anything here. What you're going to actually do is click select destination. What that does, it's going to allow you to select a folder that you send your backups to. So if all of this information was entered correctly and you click select destination, you're going to see a box open up down below. So you scroll down and you can find a directory or folder. Like, for example, I created a folder called test folder. So we will select it, and then you'll see that it fills in right here. Now what that means is if you select this as a destination, this folder on this website is where those backups will be backed up to. So we're going to go ahead and click on the submit button, and now you'll see we have an FTP account all set up. Now you have an edit button here, so if, for example, your FTP password has to be changed, you can come here and you can click the edit button and you can change your password right here. You can also use it to change the number of backups per site or change your port or anything of that nature.